Take a breath. This one might sting. Being the good guy is killing your respect. Not slowly, not subtly. Right now, in every yes you didn't mean, every boundary you didn't hold, every time you smiled through something that should have made you walk away. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Kindness without strength is weakness." And he was right. Because the kindness that comes from fear, from need, from the desperate hope that someone will finally see your worth, that's not kindness at all. It's self-abandonment wrapped in good manners. Today, you'll see why niceness drains your power and how to reclaim it without losing your heart. Because every man who gives too much eventually learns. No one remembers what it cost him. This isn't about killing kindness. It's about rebuilding it on truth, on discipline, on the quiet strength that doesn't need approval to stand. Let's begin. Part 1. When kindness becomes a currency, understanding, nice guy psychology. You did everything right. You showed up, you listened, you helped. You carried her boxes up 3 flights of stairs while she talked about the man who didn't call her back. You stayed late, said the right things, made yourself useful. And when she hugged you goodbye, there was that small flicker inside, hope, maybe validation that this time she'd finally see you differently. But she didn't, and somewhere beneath the surface, you already knew she wouldn't. Because what you offered wasn't pure kindness. It was an exchange. Every favor carried an unspoken expectation. You were trading your energy, your attention, your effort, hoping she'd return it with affection, acknowledgement, or care. That's not giving, that's negotiating. This is the quiet contract at the heart of nice guy psychology. Every good deed becomes a subtle investment. Every "I'm here for you" becomes a deposit in a bank that never agreed to open an account. And when the return doesn't come, confusion takes over. You question yourself because you did everything right. You were kind, you were safe, you were good, but real kindness doesn't keep score. It doesn't require proof. It doesn't chase validation. The Stoics understood this clearly. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do the right thing, not the liked thing. Not the thing that earns you praise. Not the thing that wins someone's affection, but the thing that keeps you aligned with your integrity, even when no one's watching." When kindness becomes a currency, it stops being strength. It becomes fear. Fear of being unseen. Fear of being unwanted. Fear that without usefulness, you lose your value. That fear is rooted in male conditioning. The quiet pressure that tells men their worth must always be earned through effort and service. So you keep saying yes. You abandon your own plans to fit into hers. You listen when you're empty. You give when it costs you more than you can afford. Not because it's right, but because you're afraid of what happens if you stop. That's not generosity. It's people-pleasing behavior. It's the illusion of goodness used to hide deeper insecurity. And underneath that, there's internalized shame, the belief that your value depends on how much you give, how well you perform, or how useful you are to others. The truth is, strength isn't proven through endless giving. It's revealed through self-respect, through knowing when your yes comes from peace and when it comes from fear. Here's where the shift begins. 1. Pause before you say yes. Ask yourself, am I choosing this or avoiding something? Is this an act of love or an act of fear? 2. Begin with one quiet no each day. Not sharp, not cruel, just clear. Say no to a request that drains you. Say no to the impulse to fix, to prove, to perform. 3. Let honesty replace guilt. The first few times will sting. You'll feel the pull to explain yourself. Don't. Let the silence hold your boundary for you. 4. Detach worth from approval. Understand that your value doesn't rise or fall based on what others receive from you. It exists before you give, and it remains even when they walk away. Because the moment you stop trading kindness for validation, your energy changes. You no longer act to be chosen. You act because you are grounded. You stop seeking return. You stop performing goodness. You start living it, quietly, effortlessly, without need for recognition. Real kindness doesn't collapse when it's not reciprocated. It doesn't wait for applause or attention. It simply exists, steady, calm, unshaken. But every time you offer kindness as a transaction, you create a silent debt. And one day, your emotions will collect what your boundaries refused to protect. Part 2. The emotional bill you never send, the hidden toll of nice guy psychology. She cancels again, third time this month. The message comes an hour before you're supposed to meet. Something came up. She's sorry. Maybe next week. You stare at the screen for a moment. Your jaw tightens. There's a weight sitting on your chest, but your fingers move anyway. No worries, totally understand. You tell yourself it's fine, but your body knows it's not. That tension doesn't leave. It follows you through the day, lingers at dinner, and hums quietly in the back of your mind as you try to sleep. And the next time you see her, you smile, but it feels forced, heavy, because you're holding something inside that was never meant to be buried. That's the quiet cost of suppressed anger, not the kind that explodes, the kind that calcifies beneath the surface. It remembers every moment you were overlooked, every time you weren't chosen, every time you said it's okay when it wasn't. You learn to hide it because the world taught you that anger is unattractive, that emotional boundaries make you selfish, that honesty makes you hard to love. So you keep the peace, you stay easy. You become the man who never complains, never asks, never disrupts. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop being someone with a center. You become something people use to balance their own emotions, predictable, safe, a quiet buffer they can lean on without ever noticing the weight they place on you. But restraint and suppression are not the same. Restraint is mastery, the ability to feel anger, understand it, and direct it with purpose. Suppression is avoidance, pretending it doesn't exist until it starts to own you. When you restrain anger, you remain in command. When you bury it, it begins to ferment. It turns into resentment, quiet bitterness, and a slow erosion of dignity. You wake up one day and realize you've been shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable. This is one of the most painful traps of nice guy psychology, mistaking silence for strength and compliance for connection. You tell yourself avoiding conflict keeps the relationship alive, that if you never challenge, never question, never create tension, she'll stay. But people don't stay because you're easy. They stay because there's truth and gravity in your presence. When that's gone, they leave. The fix isn't more silence, it's cleaner truth. The moment you feel resentment rising, speak within 30 seconds, not from anger, but from clarity, not to fight, to be seen. If she cancels, don't rush to patch over the discomfort with no worries. Pause, breathe, then say, I was looking forward to this. I'd appreciate more notice next time. That's it. Calm, simple, honest. Try this practice. 1. Take a slow breath. Feel what's happening in your body. Notice the tension instead of dismissing it. 2. Name it silently. Say to yourself, I feel dismissed. I feel overlooked. No judgment, just awareness. 3. Express it clearly. Without defense, say, I don't like when plans change last minute. It matters to me. You're not seeking permission to feel this. You're not trying to control the outcome. You're simply stating reality without apology. And yes, sometimes that honesty ends a connection. But the truth is, anything that can't survive your honesty was already running on your silence. Because silence without truth isn't peace. It's slow self-betrayal. Every time you swallow your feelings to keep someone comfortable, you teach them that your emotional boundaries are flexible and your worth is conditional. And eventually, the kindness you once gave freely stops feeling noble. It starts to feel like a cage built from internalized shame, lined with lost self-respect. And when that happens, your soul begins to whisper what your words never did. You were never meant to be everyone's peace at the cost of your own. Part 3. The trap of being too available. The core wound of nice guy psychology. You respond within seconds. Every text, every call. Even when you're in the middle of something that matters to you, you stop. because somewhere along the way, you learned that love must be earned through constant presence, immediate replies, and endless availability. You cancel plans with your friends because she's free. You rearrange your schedule to fit hers. You make yourself accessible at all times, believing that if you're always there, she'll finally see your worth. But she doesn't. The opposite happens. The more you show up, the less she does. The more you prioritize her, the less she prioritizes you. And you don't understand why. In your mind, you're doing everything right, dependable, consistent, safe. But that's exactly what dulls the gravity of your presence. This is one of the most common patterns in nice guy psychology, the belief that constant availability equals love, when in truth, it erodes mystery, value, and attraction. You weren't raised to be a partner. You were shaped by male conditioning, taught to prove your worth through service, to earn affection through effort, to equate approval with safety. You became a provider of comfort rather than a man of gravity. And when someone more grounded, more self-contained, more disciplined enters her orbit, you disappear, because you gave away the only thing that creates real connection, your wholeness. You forgot that her attention, her affection, her choices, none of these are yours to control. What belongs to you is your alignment, your integrity, your emotional boundaries, your ability to stand firm whether she's watching or not. When your value depends on her response, you lose your center. Every unread message becomes a judgment. Every cancellation feels like rejection. You start orbiting around her life instead of living your own, hoping that closeness can be bought through constant effort. But attraction doesn't come from availability. It comes from presence, and you can't be present when your focus lives in someone else's world. This is timeless dating advice for men. Women don't fall for men who are always available. They're drawn to men who are grounded, self-directed, and content in solitude. The ones who have a mission beyond approval. Many men hesitate here. They fear that distance equals coldness, that independence means indifference. But it's not about being cold, it's about being complete. A man rooted in his own direction doesn't chase, he invites. He has a life that continues, with or without her. She doesn't replace his world, she becomes part of it. A man who has nothing going on will always have space for everything. A man who values his purpose will protect it with intention. And the latter, that's the one she remembers. Here's the practice. 1. Spend one weekend alone. Not as punishment, not as strategy, simply as a return to yourself. 2. Turn off the noise. No checking her messages, no scrolling, no silent monitoring of what she's doing. Let the space between you breathe. 3. Sit with the discomfort. Feel the restlessness, the urge to reach out, the fear of being forgotten. Don't move to fix it, just watch it. At first, it will feel uneasy. The silence will show you how much of your peace has been outsourced, how much of your identity depends on being seen. But stay with it long enough, and something begins to shift. The stillness stops feeling like absence. It starts feeling like strength. You realize you don't need her attention to feel alive. You don't need her validation to feel valuable. You were whole before she arrived, and you'll still be whole when she leaves. Need makes men bend. Solitude restores structure. It reminds you that peace isn't found in being chosen. It's found in not needing to be. Because when you stop trying to be constantly available, you stop begging to exist in someone else's world, and you start standing fully in your own. And when your soul finally grows tired of overextending, your body will speak the truth your voice has been afraid to say. Self-respect is the foundation of every man who's finally done being too good for too long. Part 4. The rage you hide behind your smile, the breaking point of nice guy psychology. You're sitting across from her at dinner. She's talking about something, work, maybe, or a friend who upset her. You nod, you smile, you say the right things at the right times. But inside, your mind isn't listening, it's calculating. You're thinking about the plans you canceled to be here, the thing you agreed to, even though every part of you wanted to say no. The small comment she made earlier that cut a little too deep, but you let it slide because you didn't want to ruin the moment. And now, you're sitting there, smiling through the tension, pretending you're fine, while something inside you is quietly breaking. That's where suppressed anger lives. Not in shouting, not in visible rage. It lives in the gap between what you feel and what you show, in the smile that doesn't reach your eyes, in the jokes that hide disappointment, in the silent withdrawal that leaves people confused because they never knew something was wrong. This is the hidden wound of nice guy psychology, a man who believes peace must come at the cost of truth. The man who can't say no doesn't stay calm forever. He leaks through sarcasm, through emotional distance, through exhaustion that looks like indifference but is really the body refusing to fake peace any longer. You tell yourself you're keeping harmony, but you're not. You're just delaying conflict. And when it finally arrives, it won't be gentle. It'll be chaotic, misdirected, disproportionate, because years of swallowing frustration blur the line between the person who caused the pain and the person standing in front of you now. Unspoken truth doesn't disappear. It becomes quiet chaos, the kind that seeps into conversations, the kind that erodes trust without a single argument, the kind that makes people feel uneasy around you without knowing why. You avoid small discomforts because you believe they'll explode into something bigger. She asks for something you don't want to do, and instead of saying, "I'd rather not," you say, "Sure," because no feels risky, no feels confrontational, no feels like rejection. So you protect the peace. But each time you do, a small part of your authenticity dies. That's the trap of people-pleasing behavior, confusing silence with strength and compliance with connection. The way forward isn't loud. It's honest. Choose short-term discomfort over long-term resentment. The moment you feel resistance, name it, calmly, clearly, without defense. "I don't want to go to that party. I'm not comfortable with that. I need some time alone tonight." No explanation, no apology, just truth, spoken with steadiness. And it doesn't stop there. At work, when you're already stretched thin and another task lands on your desk, you don't say, "I'll make it work." You say, "I can't take that on without dropping something else. Which should I prioritize?" That's strength, not rebellion. You stay grounded. You stay calm. You no longer negotiate your emotional boundaries to make others comfortable. Most men fear that setting limits will make them seem cold or selfish. But the opposite is true. Boundaries are an act of clarity. They protect love from resentment. They turn connection into honesty instead of performance. They say, "I respect you enough to tell the truth, and I respect myself enough to stand by it." The man with no boundaries isn't kind. He's just easy to manage. And over time, people stop respecting what they can always bend. When you start standing firm, some will resist. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you distant. That's because they were comfortable with your silence, and now they're forced to meet the version of you that no longer hides behind it. Let them adjust, because once you've lived through the emptiness of false peace, you'll never trade it again for anything less than real respect. What once felt like politeness was never peace. It was internalized shame disguised as virtue. And what replaces it is not anger, it's liberation. The moment you stop hiding behind the mask of the good guy, you reclaim the only thing that ever made you truly magnetic: truth without fear. Part 5. Why respect dies when you try too hard. The final lesson of nice guy psychology. There's a moment in every conversation when you feel it, the subtle shift. You find yourself explaining again, trying to prove you're not the bad guy, listing everything you've done right, all the ways you've shown up, all the reasons she should understand your intentions. But the more you explain, the less she listens, because respect doesn't come from effort. It doesn't grow from how many good things you've done or how hard you try to please. It comes from clarity, an inner steadiness that doesn't depend on being understood. It comes from the ability to hold silence without collapsing into the need to perform. Picture two men in the same room. One disagrees calmly. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't rush to defend. He speaks his truth, then lets it land. The other scrambles to keep the peace, softens his words, adjusts his stance, apologizes for the tension he didn't cause. The difference is invisible but undeniable. One holds presence, the other gives it away. The man who stays still holds the room, not because he's forceful, but because he doesn't need agreement to validate his truth. That clarity becomes gravity. This is where most men lose their footing. It's not that kindness pushes people away. It's when kindness becomes a tool for validation. When doing good turns into a silent trade for recognition. When politeness masks fear and giving becomes a quiet form of manipulation. That's not strength. It's need disguised as virtue, the very core of nice guy psychology. And people can feel the difference even if they can't explain it. You give because you want to be seen. You please because you're afraid of disapproval. You serve because you're hoping to be chosen. But when approval is the goal, resentment always follows. You start keeping score, expecting returns on a contract no one else agreed to. The truth is simple: character before comfort. Don't shrink to fit someone's mood. Don't bend your integrity to keep the peace. Don't trade your truth for a moment of validation. That's how self-respect dies, one explanation at a time. Someone misunderstands your intent, and instead of letting it be, you chase their understanding. You over-clarify, you defend, you plead to be seen correctly, and with every word, you give away a piece of your presence. The correction is silence. Let calm do what words can't. Let stillness prove your intent. When she misreads your text, you don't send 3 messages to fix it. You respond once, clear, grounded, and stop. If she's confused, she'll ask. If she's testing, your restraint will say everything your defense never could. At work, when your decision is questioned, you don't unravel into justifications. You say, "I made the call I believed was right. I'm open to feedback." Then you stop. That's leadership. Clarity over performance. Presence over persuasion. It's what Jordan Peterson calls competence with calm, and what Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy, describes as breaking the approval addiction that keeps men trapped. The truth behind why do nice guys finish last isn't about women preferring bad men. It's about men abandoning their center. When your need to be liked outweighs your need to be real, attraction dies. Respect dies. Here's a simple practice drawn from timeless dating advice for men. Stand in front of a mirror for 1 minute. Look yourself in the eye. Ask, what would I do today if approval didn't exist? Not what would make me liked. Not what would make me safe. What would I do if no one's reaction mattered? Write that answer down. Then live one small version of it today. Most men avoid this exercise because the truth is uncomfortable. It exposes how much of their life is built on the need to be accepted instead of the desire to be authentic. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's where real change begins, because respect doesn't come from trying. It comes from stillness. It follows the man who doesn't need to prove his value because he already knows it. The man who can be misunderstood without losing his balance, who can disagree without defending, who can lose approval without losing himself. The moment you stop performing for respect, you start embodying it. And that's when the world and the woman start to feel your gravity again. Part 6. From approval to authority, the evolution of nice guy psychology. There's a difference between the man who gives constantly and the man who gives deliberately. The first exhausts himself trying to meet every need, answer every call, and prove his worth through effort. The second chooses. He gives when it aligns with his values, not his fears. He offers from fullness, not emptiness. True masculinity isn't about endless giving. It's about disciplined giving. Watch the man who speaks less but means every word. He doesn't fill silence with reassurance. He doesn't over-explain to avoid misunderstanding. When he speaks, people listen, not because he demands attention, but because he carries the weight of his own. That's magnetism, not charm, not performance, presence. Presence backed by structure. Discipline is love directed inward. Most men mistake discipline for punishment, for grinding harder, pushing longer, or denying comfort. But real discipline is care. It's protecting your energy. It's honoring your emotional boundaries. It's building a life that stands on its own, without needing applause to feel steady. You see it in small moments. The man who trains his body daily isn't chasing compliments, he's building order in his mind. The man who manages his finances well isn't driven by greed, he's freeing himself from desperation. These aren't mere habits, they're reflections of inner structure, of a man who governs himself before he tries to lead others. This is the evolution that breaks male conditioning, shifting from external validation to internal authority. It's the moment you stop living for approval and start living from principle. Here's a simple practice. Each night, before you sleep, write one line in a notebook. Just one. Answer the question, where did I act from truth today? Not where you performed, not where you pleased, but where you chose what was real over what was easy. Some nights, the page will stay blank. That's not failure. That's feedback, a mirror reminding you that honesty with yourself is the foundation of growth. You were never meant to be merely nice. You were meant to be noble, to act with integrity, not insecurity, to give from strength, not from fear of being unloved. Because when you live that way, kindness becomes power again. You already know the cost of being the good guy, the exhaustion, the quiet resentment, the invisible self who smiles while slowly disappearing. But there's another way. Stoicism doesn't kill empathy, it refines it. It turns care into stability. It turns silence into gravity. It teaches you that your greatest gift to the world isn't constant availability, it's calm presence. Rooted, clear, unshaken. That's the essence of self-respect, no longer trading your peace for approval, but protecting your truth with quiet certainty. Calm is your power. Here's your 3-day recalibration ritual. 1. Say one honest no. Not to hurt, but to honor your truth. 2. Spend one silent hour alone. No phone, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. 3. Write one line each night. Where did I betray myself today? Then begin with one boundary. Speak it once. Hold it firmly. No explanation. No apology. Let your stillness communicate what words no longer need to. Because the man who stops performing for approval doesn't lose respect. He finally earns it. That's the quiet transformation at the heart of nice guy psychology, the shift from suppressed anger and people-pleasing to structure, presence, and authentic authority.